So here we are, welcome to spring. Today we're gonna be going over your first backpacking setup. I am going to try to keep all of the fluff out of this setup. I bring a lot of luxury items with me, from chairs to fishing rods to power banks. But today I wanna focus on the traditional backpacking setup, the just bare essentials that you're gonna need to get started. This is the gear we'll be discussing. This is my gear. I think this is good gear. This is not the cheapest gear, and this video is not meant to tell you that this is the gear that you should get. We're talking more today about building your first backpacking system. So we'll be discussing a tent. I'll show you what tent I use, but of course, doesn't mean you have to get that tent, but you will need something to keep the rain off your head while you sleep. Before we get into the setup, I want to thank Bluffworks for sponsoring this video. Most of us aren't living outside full time. We've got jobs, meetings, clients. We spend a lot of time in the city, and then we come out here to get away from the rat race. And I don't know about you, but I'm comfortable shopping in REI, not a Men's Warehouse. Like, my closet is basically stained hiking shirts and convertible pants, so when I need to look put together, I gotta dig deep into that closet. But Bluffworks helped me fix this. I got their Telex Tech blazer and their Threshold crew neck t-shirt, and with just those two items, I now have an outfit I can pull out anytime that fits every situation. These clothes are built like something, like, honestly, I'd wear these on the trail. The blazer's lightweight, it's breathable, it has stretch, it's even water resistant. Same thing with the t-shirt. Doesn't hang on to odors, dries quick. It's not your average cotton white t-shirt because it's not cotton. It's a polyester blend that's more like your favorite workout shirt. And best of all, the Bluffworks line is wrinkle resistant. And that's huge for me because I'm not ironing, ever. It's all machine washable, wrinkle resistant. I can pack it, travel with it, just throw it on when I need it. No ironing, no fuss. So if you're like me, living half your life outside and half your life in the city, get yourself a Bluffworks outfit, set it and forget it. I've got a link down below if you want to check it out. All right, let's get into the backpacking setup. Okay, first thing you're probably going to be asking right away is, John, this is backpacking. Don't I need the backpack first? No, the backpack doesn't come first. Why? Because we need to know the size of backpack we're gonna get. So we need to get a couple of things first, know how big they are, before we can go ahead and purchase our backpack. So the first thing we start with is a shelter. There's so many different kinds of shelters, from just standard old tarp, to hammocks, to one-person tents, to two-person tents, to bivy sacks. Seeing as this video is designed for the beginner backpacker, I'm gonna say you start with a tent. And I'm gonna say that you start with a two-person tent. This is the Nemo Dagger. This is my favorite two-person tent. I did a whole video on the Nemo tents and why I love them. This is a 3-season backpacking tent. They're lightweight, they compress. Obviously, the more money you pay, the lighter weight and the less bulky they're gonna be. That's kind of what you're paying for. I always recommend starting with a two-person tent. You're gonna probably want the extra space right when you start out with, and you want to be able to grow in your backpacking endeavors without having to buy new equipment. So maybe someone wants to come with you, a significant other. Maybe you have a dog, you want the dog in the tent. A two-person tent just gives you a bigger range of possibilities. So my advice to you, if you're just starting out, start with the two-person tent. I like the Nemo Dagger. Okay, the next thing you're gonna need to invest in is your sleep system. There are two main options for your sleep system. There's a sleeping bag or a quilt. Most newcomers would probably feel more comfortable in a sleeping bag. I myself go with the Zen Bivy bed, which is a quilt system. This is super plush, super premium. For most of you, I would just recommend a sleeping bag. I myself like the Nemo Disco when it comes to a sleeping bag. Of course, where you live, what kind of conditions you're going to be backpacking in will determine the temperature rating you're gonna want. You're also gonna need a sleeping pad, like this Sea to Summit sleeping pad that I have here. Again, really, the amount of money you spend, the lighter, less bulkier, more comfortable sleeping pad you're going to wind up with. Get an inflatable sleeping pad. Don't mess around with the egg carton thing. These are so good and so comfortable and so light now. Again, look at what kind of temperatures you're going to be backpacking in to determine the R value of the sleeping pad you're going to want. But for most of us, we're backpacking in nice, comfortable conditions, and any R value is really going to be okay. Anything 3 or up. Don't get something like a 6, that's too much. You're going to be fine. Get a sleeping pad. And then you're probably going to want a pillow, something that goes with your sleeping pad or your bed setup. Sea to Summit makes an interlock pillow system. The Zenbivy bed comes with its own pillow system as well and its own pillow. So you're probably gonna want a pillow. Some people, they just throw their miscellaneous clothes up into the mummy section of their sleeping bag and use that as a pillow. I myself like a pillow, and I would recommend that you get one as well. Okay, now that we have our sleep system and our shelter, now we can look at backpacks. Oh my gosh, the different varieties of backpacks that are out there is insane. This is probably the most confusing part. The part where people get like that buyer's paralysis when they're just looking through all the bags that are available and what kind of features they offer. You can go with something like this from Ultralight Adventure Equipment, a company out of Utah. This bag, the Catalyst that I've been using for a while now, is just bare bones, right? It's just material and straps, ultra lightweight. There isn't too much to it. Or you can get something like a traditional Osprey pack that has all the pockets, has all the features, has the camel's back reservoir that you might want. I find these Osprey packs to be really good for the beginner just because they're so easy. You're gonna have way too much gear and you're not gonna know how to pack it. And all these extra little pockets make it super easy for you to just throw random things in. You really are gonna have to have your situation dialed before you get into one of these. You know, this doesn't have a place for a camel's back. I personally don't really use a water reservoir system in the pack. I'll show you why when we get to that portion of the video. So for me, this pack made sense. For you, it might not. I'd say for your first pack though, you're looking for something between like, I wanna say 55 and 65 liters, okay? People might say, wow, that's huge. For the first time backpacker, you're just, you know, you start with a pretty big pack and you work yourself down as you develop the system and learn what you need and learn what you like. So I would say err on the larger pack, and then as you progress, you'll get down to a smaller pack. The next item we're gonna need is something that filters our water. As you can see, I have here just a regular plastic bottle that you can get from a gas station. I always take one of these with me. This will make a lot more sense when we start packing. And then to filter it, we have so many options. There's a gravity filter. I love a gravity filter. You just put the water in one bag, hang it up in a tree. It filters down into another bag. These are great for groups. As you can see, it's a little bit bulkier. You can also do something like this like Katadyn thing, fill it up with water, and then you can, you know, squeeze it into your bottle, or you can use this as your bottle. This is probably the setup that I've used the most, and I think is the most popular. This is the Sawyer setup. There's a Sawyer filter in here, something like this. You can see how small this is. I like to take the bag with me, but you can even do something as simple as screw your Sawyer filter right onto your bottle and filter as you go. I think nowadays, most companies, you can see here this Life Straw that I just got. This is something like this combined with a system where you can have a gravity system here. So, you know, you could see one bag, another bag, this hose that runs between the two, and then you have your, like, what you see there, your Sawyer, but like a Life Straw. So you could turn most of these systems into a gravity filter now, which is great. I think that's the way to go. Get something that you can do small if it's just you, but if you have the space or you have extra people, you would love to do a gravity system. It's just so much easier. But at the very least, get yourself a Sawyer. I think they cost 30 bucks. And make sure you have something to filter your water with. Next is a cooking system. I don't even know if these are necessary. I guess technically you could just take food that's already prepared, but most of you are gonna want a cook system. This is a jet boil. This is, again, a real bougie, an expensive piece of gear. This is my coffee cup. This boils water. This allows me to rehydrate things in here, your dehydrated meals and stuff. You could just go with a pocket rocket and a metal cup if you want. That's the cheapest option, along with your fuel, something to cook your meals in, cook your coffee with. And then finally, we have all the little knickknacks that are gonna go with you. These are the things that really make or break a trip, okay? Things like toilet paper and baby wipes, okay? It's gonna really suck if you're out there and you don't have a way to go to the bathroom properly, right? You're gonna want a trowel tool to dig your hole that you will be doing your business in. You're gonna want a knife. Always take a knife. A knife is always gonna come in handy. I like to take a spork, but something to eat your dehydrated meals with. If you don't have one of these, you might end up using your trowel tool as your spoon, which I've done many, many times. I like to take some Visine, really dry out there, your eyes, allergies. Visine is good. A toothbrush, don't forget your toothbrush. Sunscreen, again, things that make or break your trip. I mean, sunburn is one of the worst. Toothpaste, dental floss. It always sucks when you have beef jerky stuck in your teeth and you're out there and you can't get it out. Dental floss is great. Don't forget a lighter. You need a lighter to light a lot of your stuff. I might actually recommend taking a couple of lighters and some matches. I also have this quick start, fire starter that's really easy. You don't want to be trying to rub two sticks together. Just get yourself something cheap like this. Don't forget a headlamp, obviously, lighting at night. I like to take some extra batteries for my headlamp. These right there, because I never know when it's gonna go out. And then finally, we have kind of our first aid kit here. I've kind of put this together myself. The things that are going to get you out on the trail really are blisters and dehydration. Most other stuff, it's just like, you're gonna have to be, if you have a heart attack out there, you're not gonna be carrying an EKG machine, right? Like if you get snake bit, you don't have anti-venom. So when it comes to your first aid kit or taking care of yourself out there, electrolytes, like the number one thing that gets people out there is dehydration. That's the thing you're gonna be battling with the most. So I think electrolytes are really important. Advil, higher elevations, big long walks in the heat, you might start getting a headache, you might have some knee pain. I have this pack of just like tweezers, bandage strips, butterfly strips. I also have a needle and some fishing line in here if you have to do a quick, nasty suture on some sort of cut. And then blister medic for your feet. Again, blisters are something that'll just ruin your trip. At night, if you're in bear country or something like that, you don't wanna be sleeping with your food. You wanna hang it up in a tree. So I take this. This is just a dry bag that holds all my smelly stuff, my food and everything, and then some rope or some twine to hang it up in the tree. And with that, you have pretty much all the equipment. Now let's get into your clothing. Okay, the number one rule to your clothing is this: cotton kills. You do not want any cotton with you when you're backpacking. It gets wet, it doesn't dry out, it's bad. Polyester is what we want. As you can see, I am wearing kind of a backpacking outfit. This is all from Mountain Hardwear. This is one of those like thin SPF shirts. Keeps you protected from the sun. A lot of people like these if they don't love drenching themselves in sunscreen. They're light, they dry quick. Some pants, some pants for when you're hiking. You might like the convertible pants that turn into shorts. I like the convertible pants. They're very like dad pants and not cool, but they do the trick, right? I can go from shorts to long pants. I always like a hat. I think you should wear a hat. I don't know why, I just do. But definitely have a hat, protect your face, protect yourself from the sun. Have some sunglasses, obviously. If you don't like a shirt like this, you could just get a traditional hiking shirt, something like this. You know, this is just an REI hiking shirt. Again, not cotton, not cotton. There's a lot of different options for shoes, a lot of different opinions. I like trail runners. These are not waterproof. These are just lightweight. They have good traction. And then if they get wet, they dry out super quick. That's why I like trail runners. So you can go with trail runners. You can also go with traditional hiking boots. A lot of people like the ankle support. They are heavier, they're waterproof, but the only problem with waterproof boots is if they do get wet, they do not dry out as well as something like this. So just be aware of that if you go with boots, but make sure you have some proper footwear. Okay, that's everything that's going to be on your body as you hike, the stuff that's going to go into your pack. I always take an extra pair of socks. If your socks get wet, maybe they just sweat all day, it's nice to be able to change into another pair of socks while these dry out. I always like to carry just some smart wool like leggings. These are mostly for night. These are just kind of like my pajamas, basically. But of course, you know, if you get cold while you're sitting around the campfire or something, you could put these on underneath. I also like to take a beanie, something to keep your head warm while you sleep. And then depending on where you're at, what kind of temperatures you're working with, you're gonna want some sort of warm outer layer. These are the two kind of like warm outer layers that you're gonna wanna take. Now, I'm not saying you have to take both of them. For most people, just a down coat will be enough. There's also something like this, which is a fleece mid layer. But yeah, at the very least, like a down jacket for the evening or for the cool mornings. And then depending on where you're at, you might need to take a mid layer as well, like a fleece mid layer like that. And there you go, that's your clothing. Now we have everything, so let's pack our bag. First thing we're gonna do is throw our shelter in. We have our tent, and then we have our sleep system, pad. All of this goes down in the bottom. It's the biggest, it's the bulkiest. Also, we're not gonna need it until the end of the day. Same goes with this stuff. Depending on the weather, maybe you'll wanna keep a jacket or something at the top. But for now, let's just pretend it's a hot day. All this stuff will go in next. Next is our cooking system. Again, we're gonna just assume that we're not cooking in the middle of our trek. We'll use this to cook once we get to our camp at the end of the day. For a lunch in the middle of the day, we're looking at something more like a snack. That's when beef jerky, Cliff Bars, and things like that are really important. So in the middle, we're putting in our cook set. I like to put my Spork in my dry bag here so it doesn't get lost in all the shuffle. Meals go in. Let's just put a couple of these. These are just dehydrated meals. Now the rest of this at the top are things we would need to access quickly without taking apart our bag. So this is where our toiletries come in case, you know, nature calls in a hurry. This is the Trowel Tool, the baby wipes, and my toilet paper. I'm also gonna put like my toiletries, my Advil, my toothpaste, floss in there. Who knows, maybe you get a piece of beef jerky stuck in your teeth in the middle of the day and you wanna access this real quickly. It goes right at the top. And of course, we have our water filtration right at the top. Always good to keep that on hand. You wanna make sure you stay hydrated. Now, we're gonna seal this up. This really is just the bare essentials. As you can see, there's a lot of space in this pack because my camera gear and all my luxury items that normally go in there are not in there this time. In my hip portion of this pack, I like to keep things that I really might need to assess quickly without digging into my bag, such as my knife, my headlamp. It's a good place for me to put my twine too. One hip pocket. In the other hip pocket is my medical kit. So medical, blisters, right there. Don't even have to open up the pack and pull stuff out or look for it. I know exactly where all my medical equipment is, right there, just in case. And our last couple items are our water and our tent poles. For these, I like to throw these on the outside. So let's just put the tent poles on this side, in this little pocket here. We'll cinch there. And then our water will go on this side. And there's my water bottle. Remember how I said I don't like to have a camel's back? This is why. Now, this pack is big enough for me to definitely have a camel's back, but there is a lot of times this is full, and I want all that extra space. And carrying around 3 heavy liters of water, taking up most of my pack, I mean, it just doesn't seem like a good utilization of space to me. It also seems very heavy. Sure, you might have to filter water a few more times, but heck, I'm taking breaks anyways. Walk a few miles, drink my water, get to a creek, take a break, have a snack, fill it back up. You know, that's the way I like to go. And as you can see, this water on the outside leaves all this extra space on the inside for you to utilize. It's also easy with a bottle like this. Maybe you wanna, you know, put some water on your toothbrush before you brush your teeth. It's really easy to do this other than like trying to do that with a camel's back nozzle. If you want to fill up your jet boil with water, it's easier to do it from here than taking off your camel's back. So this goes in the side, and there you have it. There's your pack. Holy cow. This has been in storage, hang on. Always when you put it on, you want to get that hip part first, right? All the weight's going to be in your hips. And then this is just kind of for support. So we like to cinch this after we get our hips done. Boom. And there we have it. Some of the things you might be asking yourself are like, how do I navigate? Where's the navigation? What about my phone? When I started out, I like to print out my maps and my directions and just use the old paper system. There's obviously so many apps and Garmin's and watches and things like that, but really you don't need that stuff. A lot of these places that you're going are so well signed and there's so many people out there. I can already see all the old heads saying like, you need to throw in a compass. Gotta say, I've hiked with a compass forever and never actually had to use it. I'm just gonna be honest, never actually had to use it. And of course you can throw in other things like a charging system for your phone, but this is the essentials. Let me know if you have any questions. Links to all of this gear is down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Happy backpacking.